begins in Israel, in Beersheba. After waiting for 2 painful weeks, Chagai Marciano, a brilliant Torah student, receives his exam results from the hospital. He expected the worst-case scenario possible. The doctor then conveys to him his diagnosis. Dear Mr. Marciano, I'm guessing that you had already suspected it, so here it is. The tests have detected 2 malignant tumors in 2 of your organs. But I also want you to know that in other similar cases, several people have managed to survive. Chagai was under the impression that his world was falling apart. Getting ready to undergo an illness is one thing, but the doctor's confirmation that that was actually the case was something else. The doctor continues with a reassuring tone. I'll be honest with you. The operation that you have to undergo is very delicate. This is why I do not recommend that you have it done in Israel, because we don't have the necessary equipment. This is what I recommend. I met an American non-Jewish professor of great valor. His name is Johann van Dins. He is the top world surgeon taking care of your particular case, and he's been more than 30 years that he's in practice. He is the best in his field. Chagai then does some research and asks all the great specialists in Israel, and they all agree without a shadow of a doubt, this professor is the best surgeon able to cure this type of illness. Chagai made up his mind he will undergo the operation in America. His medical file is sent by the email, and the answer is quick to arrive. Mr. Marciano, after having looked at your results, Dr. Van Dins gave his diagnosis. We must remove both organs affected by the disease and replace them with 2 artificial ones. The chances of success are 50%. Here are the fees. Surgeon's fee, $50,000. Hospital fee, including the operating room, medication, resting room, $30,000. Total cost, $80,000. Far from being discouraged to gather such an amount, Chagai immediately starts to collect the necessary sum of money. For 2 weeks, he goes from one synagogue to the next synagogue, showing his medical file and the rabbi's recommendations, overcoming his weakness and his shame. Life was worth it after all. After numerous efforts, he manages to gather $30,000, but he's still missing $50,000 to pay the surgeon, and he doesn't have much time. The doctor who took care of Chagai in Israel was informed of the situation and contacts the hospital in the United States to tell them that the money was gathered. He then books a ticket and a date for the operation. The answer arrives the next day. Chagai, you must fly to America in 10 days. Aware of the situation, Chagai immediately calls his former doctor. But what happened to you? How will I be able to find another $50,000? The doctor answers, Chagai, we are pressured with time. You must cure yourself. For now, send them the $30,000 and Hashem will take care of the rest. Now take a plane to America for yourself and your own recovery. A few days later, Chagai landed in America with his sister Carmit. Once they arrived at the hospital, Professor Van Dins came to welcome them with a radiant smile. Mr. Marciano, welcome. You mustn't worry, you are in good hands. Hope with all my heart that within 2 days you will always be in good health. I also thank you for choosing me as your surgeon. Chagai was astonished. This non-Jewish professor's kindness and warmth gave him new strength and a lot of optimism. The only remaining issue was the money, but Carmit reassured him, don't worry about the money. My husband and I have decided to sell our apartment. The most important thing is that you regain your health. Chagai couldn't believe it. What? But you've worked so hard and you've asked so many loans to buy this apartment. You don't have to turn your life upside down for me. You have 6 children to raise. Carmit answers with a smile. Listen, we want you alive and in good health, no matter the cost. My husband knows that you are entirely dedicated to Torah study, and he says that he's even willing to starve for you as long as you recover. And then the nurse arrives and takes Chagai to his surgery room. Hours go by and Carmit, exhausted from reading Tehillim and praying for the recovery of her brother, it is only after 6 hours long that Professor Van Dins exits the operation room. He walks toward Carmit and tells her, okay, all is well, your brother was put into a remission room, and as per my experience, he should recover shortly. Tomorrow afternoon, he will regain consciousness, and we will make an assessment then. Please note that despite the alarming results that you've initially received, the situation was less serious than expected. He will live many more years, hopefully. What a relief for Carmit, who is crying with joy. The next day, Chagai wakes up, and he and his sister are impatiently waiting for the doctor's arrival. All of a sudden, he gets to the room with an old photo album. Seeing their surprise, he explains, before anything, I want to show you a few pictures. On one of this is me, when I was 22 years old. Behind me, one can recognize the New York's railway station. Half an hour before the picture was taken, I entered the central bank to cash a check, $65,000, that was given to me by my father. It is all the money he possessed. This money was meant to pay for my studies in the United States, my rent, and all of my expenses for the upcoming year, until I would receive my doctor's degree. Don't ask me how or why, but 1 hour after the picture was taken, I lost my bag which contained the money. All my dreams just got lost in a minute. I was broke, without a future, and had nobody to turn to for help. At this very moment, the professor takes another picture, in which a Jew can be seen with a well-cut beard. And then Carmit can't believe it. When she sees the picture, it's Grandpa Albert. I don't understand. What are you doing with Grandpa Albert on this picture? The professor smiles and answers, he was the one who found the bag at the railway station. Everyone had seen it, that it contained a huge sum of money. But your grandfather fought to get a hold of it and give it back to its true owner. He received a few blows in the meantime, but he didn't really care. He brought it back to the police station, and he waited 5 hours until I arrived, completely desperate. I begged him to take a few $1,000s to thank him, but he refused. And he said, us Jews, we don't do mitzvot just to receive a reward. You will be able to fulfill your dream of becoming a doctor. I'm happy for you. I'm just asking you one thing. If one day you become an important doctor and a Jew with a compromising financial situation needs you, remember me and help him. This will be my greatest reward. The professor continued, believe it or not, throughout my career, I've had the opportunity to help hundreds of Jews by giving them big discounts, even when they hadn't asked me to do so. When I was asked to operate on a man named Marciano, I asked myself if he was Albert's relative. I made a few phone calls to Israel, and I realized with great joy that I wasn't mistaken. And turning towards Chagai, he says, Mr. Marciano, your grandfather already paid the operations fees. We can call it quits. Shabbat Shalom.